What do you think about Trump McDonald's?
I've seen like clips of that. I don't know, he's putting fries in the bag, man. I don't know. In a way, like, you could think about it as like he's showing Americans that he could go back to his roots too and do the 9 to 5 jobs. Or like you could think of it as like, why don't you actually do something important instead of putting some fucking fries in the bag and talk to the world?
So it's been a good little long while since Biden's dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
What has Kamala coming into the race meant to you?
I think that it's somewhat important when it comes to like having like our first female president, and I guess like our first female. I think she's like a mix of like black and like some sort of Indian. I think that could be totally wrong, but I'm like pretty sure she's like a mix of that. I think that that's important, like to set a role model for children growing up, like so that they know that that's kind of possible, like they're able to see somebody that they can connect with like on TV. And I also personally agree with more of her points than I would Trump's, but like I don't really necessarily like love Kamala, if that makes sense. Like I think anybody who's like in love with either of the candidates completely needs to do like some thinking, because I think that they both obviously have issues and like they're politicians, you know what I mean? Like they're all gonna kind of lie, which is their job, but I don't know, I just don't think that we should like fully entrust everything into one of the candidates, in my personal opinion.
It's sad we think about it that
right?
way.
Yeah.
What issues matter most to you?
Women's rights are a big thing for me, obviously, because I'm a woman, as you can tell. I think that we should have abortion rights for people, at least like when it has to do with like rape or incest or something like of that sort. I think that like immigration needs to be addressed as well, which I don't think like we need to put up a wall or anything. I just think we need to like build a better system in the government where we can get through stuff like that faster, because I know it's like a 5 to 10 year process sometimes, like just to get into the country. And I think because it takes so long, that encourages people to illegally like immigrate into our country. And I feel for them, because like I couldn't imagine being in their shoes, like having a family and being endangered like that and like not having a way out. And in a way, like I think that we should take it as a compliment that they feel like America is a safe place that they would be able to raise their children. I don't like to think of it in a way that like they're evil or they're dirty or criminals. Like I think it's people looking for a better life, but obviously like I don't support like illegal immigration, but I kind of think our government should take the time to maybe develop like I don't know, like a better system to get through people, maybe like broaden the area of that. I don't know.
Going back to the candidates, with Kamala in office now, do you see the current administration's handling of immigration as a problem, or do you think this is like a systemic thing that's been going on for a long time?
I kind of think it's a systemic thing. I feel like people bring it up a lot, like, oh my God, like it's so bad, and like they kind of only view it in like the last like 2 or 3 years, but I kind of feel like stuff like that's been going on forever. And I think the same with inflation. Like inflation has been going on forever. Like it's kind of insane to blame it on like one candidate, considering that it happens through like most people's presidencies in a weird way. I'm not saying that they don't have like some stuff to do with it, obviously, but like I just kind of feel like people bring it up like it's a new issue that like is caused by one person that they don't like from the opposite party. I kind of just feel like that stuff's been going on forever. Obviously it needs to be solved, but it's not like it's anything new.
I've heard a lot of sentiment similar to that. So with these two candidates, with either one getting elected, do you think anything will change?
Maybe not, to be honest with you. I think that it's important to have hope that things can change, because I think once you lose that, there's not like that much to look forward to anymore. But I think that it's important to have hope, and I feel like when you think about it in the way that it's like, well, nothing's going to change, people stop voting, and then like there's less incentive to change, if that makes sense. And I do think it's really important to just be educated in who you're going to vote for. And obviously, I have not done my due diligence yet on gathering information for that, but I am going down to Texas like to vote from home. Like, I will be doing that. My mom is making me, but yeah.
Wow.
So
With the two candidates now, so we're entering the final days before the election.
mm-hmm.
How do you think each candidate is doing on their campaign?
Meh.
Meh.
Both of them are just kind of meh.
How do you think, what is one way you think Kamala could improve what she's doing?
It's difficult because it just feels like a mess on both like political parties, like when they're advertising the things. I think what both of them could work on, like it would be the same answer for both of them, is like, instead of catering to like what they think people want to hear, I think they should like just actually throw out their like ideas and like these are my opinions and like this is what I want to do, instead of almost like lying to us. And like it's like they change their opinions every other week when they speak at different I guess like polls or like conferences, and it's just kind of like I don't even know like what I'm voting for at that point. It's like you say that like, you know, you don't like abortion one day, and then like a couple weeks later I hear you're like, I think it should be, you know, legal everywhere. And it's like, well, like how do you actually feel about it? Because I don't want to, you know, vote for somebody and then they end up not being like what I planned on voting on, which again, I think that that's kind of politicians' job to like cater to people, but I just wish there was like more honesty in it. But honesty is also like a virtue that I hold like kind of highly. So that's just like me in general.
Do you see either candidate as honest?
No, not really, no.
If Trump were to get elected into office, what is one thing you would like to see him do?
Ooh, I wish he was more open to being more liberal when it comes to women's rights, in my opinion. I also wish that he thought about what he said more, like what he says, because I think a lot of it can come off as like very offensive or hurtful to people, even if like that's not what he wants to be saying or like that's the idea in his head. I just think maybe he needs to work on like how he phrases things, because it's not like super pleasant to hear a lot of the time. Like I feel like it really turns people away from wanting to vote for him, which I'm not like a huge supporter of him, but I feel like if he was better at like speaking and like being polite and respectful, I think like a lot more people would vote for him, to be honest with you. Because I think like even if people don't agree with like your political opinions, when you're really well spoken, I feel like it gets you a long way. Like you kind of want to hear them out. I don't know.
I'm curious, did you watch the vice presidential debate?
No, I saw clips of it online, but it was actually like really cool to see because I felt like they were really respectful to each other.
I highly recommend giving it a watch because I've heard a lot of college students talk about during the presidential debate, it was very informal. And during the vice presidential debate, they actually talked about policy.
Yes.
And there was issues being discussed and not just like throwing insults at each other.
Which is why I'm so excited to have new candidates, because maybe we'll have somebody like that running for president.
Yeah.
The next 4 years. Sorry, I misspoke.
It is interesting. So Trump has said that if he does lose, he will not try to run again. He is 78, so he would be like
it's pretty old.
Very old going into the next one. When you are going to do your due diligence, as you said, where will you be finding your information?
Ooh, I try to avoid like Fox News or CNN because I swear like you find the weirdest stuff on there that like sometimes isn't even true. A lot of the time isn't even true. I like to just genuinely watch the debates and hear the president's or the presidential candidates out for themselves. Like, I like to actually take like what they're saying instead of what a news outlet thinks that they're saying. Like, that's the thing that like really peeves me, is like if I've ever debated with people, like when I debate with my boyfriend, hi Hudson, if we watch this video together, he will read like other people's interpretations of like the facts or like the unbiased documents, and it makes you like have that opinion rather than just looking at like the cold hard evidence yourself and coming to the conclusion. Like, not having people with like a biased perspective break it down for you. So I kind of just like to watch the debates and like, I guess, look online at like the stuff that they list, because I feel like it's like coming from them. Even though, going back to what I said, like you can't exactly like trust everything that they say because they cater to people. I think that that's like just like the best chance maybe at like finding information that might be accurate. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, true. We'll wrap up here on a little bit of a lighter note. What do you think about Trump McDonald's?
I've seen like clips of that. I don't know, he's putting fries in the bag, man. I don't know. In a way, like, you could think about it as like he's showing Americans that he could go back to his roots too and do the 9-to-5 jobs. Or like you could think of it as like, why don't you actually do something important instead of putting some fucking fries in the bag and talk to the world? But you can choose what you want to think about that. I don't really have an opinion at all on it, to be honest, but
Gotcha. All right. Awesome talking to you. Thank you very much.
cool.